Good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kids of all ages, and Herman. Welcome to episode 162 of your Hobby Hotline. We are live. We are four wide if we're talking about football, but if we're in baseball, we're shifting left because it is baseball season. Someone asked real quick why they put me at shortstop, and it's not a short joke. I just don't have enough arm to be in any other position. So that way I could just pitch the ball to everybody. But we are live. We have three guys with me included today. We have the honorable, the great, the wonderful, the all powerful Dr. James Beckett. How are you this morning, sir?
Great to be here, Brad. Thank you.
Fantastic. And then wow, we have a special guest here. We have Mr. Herman, 3B, big 3B. What's up, baby?
Not much. How y'all doing?
We're all doing good. We're all doing good. And then we have the great Adam Palmer. What's up, big cat? What are you doing today?
Just living the dream.
Man, it's your world. It's your world. I'm just living in it. I'm just living in it. I got to tell you, though, before we start off, I always start off the show this way. I got to say thank you to everybody at Sports Card Shop at MoCo. We know we're on the big screen. Rex and the kids, thank you very much. Owen, make sure you aggravate everybody. Make sure you buy everything and blame it on your dad. So we appreciate everybody. We appreciate everybody. We'll just start with a couple of comments here. Of course, good morning from New Buffalo and good morning back at you. We appreciate you having us on. Let's see. Wow. I'm just going to leave that there for a second and say good morning to Mr. Keating. Good morning to Mr. Keating. And Cardboard Max, good morning. Good morning. And good morning, Mr. Safe at Home. And yes, too many y'alls on this panel. That is true. We are running a little south. Actually, I think everybody now is in the south with you moving, Mr. Palmer. Everybody.
Yeah, that's right. I'm waiting for my southern draw to come in. I'm taking some classes up in the next couple of weeks.
All right. So it won't be long before we have everybody saying all y'all and all of that entails.
Right.
So there ain't been much happening in the hobby lately. I mean, you want to kick off with like a card that undersold that was supposed to sell? I mean, I'd love to get your comments on this, Adam. What do you think about this 2.4 million card that was supposed to be 6.6?
Well, so I have two kind of thoughts. I think one thing that's sort of funny is that like it may. Well, actually, I'll start with the other one. So I think it probably should have gone in like the 3 to 3.5 ish range. The 6.6, maybe I'm mistaken who was saying it was going to go for 6 for that much. Maybe it was just.
I think it's the guy that pulled it.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, maybe that might be the case. But like I said, but I also think it's funny that it's still sold for 2.4, which is still like a monumentous kind of moment for us and for everybody in the hobby. And I mean, the other thing that I think, have you guys heard of who bought it yet? Because usually when these kind of cards sell, I mean, I'd say like 50% of the time, the person that bought it usually posts about it on Instagram. But I mean, I guess if someone's buying something for $2.4 million, maybe they're not in the business of posting about it on Instagram. But like I said, I think the 2.4 is a little bit lower than I was expecting. I think the 6.6 was not what I didn't think it would sell for that much. I definitely didn't think it would go for that high. Like I said, I was thinking in maybe the 3 to 3.5 range. I mean, it's a card that I think is probably going to be the most expensive card from the 2021-22 basketball. Like, I mean, I can't think of really another card that has sort of the monumentous sort of history, I guess. Like maybe the triple Curry Draymond because they won the championship this year, but I don't think it'll sell for that like LeBron range or that this card did. But like I said, I think the 2.4 it's lower than I was expecting, but it's still like a pretty historic sale for a card of like a new card too. Like because usually you see these sales on either cards that are from the 50s, 60s, 70s, like depending on the player, obviously. But like you rarely see like the 2.4 on a card that's like literally from this year. And I think what I saw was that it was the first card to ever be it was the first card to sell for that much or over $1 million or something from that was pulled and from that same year's product, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what I saw.
Yeah. Herman, I know you don't do basketball, but I mean, what do you think of this, of a card, a modern day card, this triple logo being, and I'll put it up here so that everybody can see it, this triple logo card selling for under what everybody said it should. Well, I thought I had it. I guess I don't. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, the fact that it sold for under that is not as surprising to me as a modern day card selling for that much. When you got, you got vintage rookies cards that won't even touch that now. And I know it's a 1-on-1, but at the same time, I mean, how rare is a 1-on-1 now?
That's true. That's true. That's very true. I mean, especially with now you got 1-on-1s of every parallel. So
yeah, you got, but I don't know about the logo, man. But like I said, I don't know a whole lot about basketball. But I know Adam alluded to the fact that nobody knows who bought it. What's the odds that one of the fractional companies may have picked it up?
Ooh, that's an interesting thought. It's an interesting thought. It's very interesting.
They usually when they buy something like that, they kind of keep it close to their chest until they put it out for shares, don't they?
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. They do keep quiet about what they buy. I mean, eventually it slips, but they do kind of keep it too close to the vest until they get ready to put it up, and then they start big buzzing it. So that's a great MO pattern. I didn't even think about that. That's a great MO pattern pickup of what might be going on. Dr. Beckett, what do you think?
Well, a lot of times with glamour cards or auctions that go perhaps perceived as being a little bit too cheap, in the days or hours after the auction, sometimes that card gets flipped.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not hearing a bunch of people saying, oh man, I would have paid $3, I would have paid $4 because it's worth $6. So the market was what it was. But if something goes too cheap, there's some people that will contact Golden or contact there's ways of finding out these things and make an offer for $3 million if it's such a great card. It is a great card, but that's the price it went for in an open, highly publicized auction.
Yeah, this is a great point right here by Carbart and Max. If they make another triple logo man next year, this one could drop a lot. This one could drop a lot.
I don't think they would do, honestly. Like, I don't think Panini would do that because of what this card has sort of done. Like, it would, just from an ethical standpoint, and it's for the card companies, it's about making money. So like, if they can make money from producing another triple LeBron logo man, like maybe that's their prerogative. But like, just the fact that this got so much publicity for them to just the next year come out with another triple logo man, it's like that. It feels like that would be, I don't know. I think that would be bad. That would not be good for the value of that card or the value of cards like that in the future. Because I think it's a good point. Like, they could just come out with another one, but I think because of what has happened with this card, I hope that the higher ups at Panini see that and they're not just like, let's just do it again. Like, who cares? Like, it's a big deal, and I think hopefully they view it as a big deal as well.
Well, go ahead.
Come on, man. I mean, this is set. You just said it set a record for a price for a current year of cards. So I agree with you. They shouldn't do another LeBron triple logo man, but this concept is a huge winner, and they're not going to pull the plug on that. They're going to do
the concept is great. I agree.
And but if they do an exact copy, I agree. That's cheesy. But and what did Panini get out of it? They got some marketing exposure, but they didn't get any piece. That they got, well, they didn't get much out of the 2.4 million. So they want, but this will drive interest in future product, and they have to parlay that somehow. Again, a pure ripoff, the exact same card, just same song, second verse. That would give them negative publicity. I agree,
Right.
but any other kind of triple logo man or a quadruple logo man or whatever they can do, this concept is a huge winner. And who's disappointed that it's 2.4 million? Is it Ken Golden? Is it the owner of the person that pulled the card? I mean, it's they've got 2.4 million reasons to be really excited.
Yeah, I heard it somewhere, and I don't remember if it was your podcast, Dr. Beckett, or if it was on Mojo Breaks or somebody, that they said, just wait for them to do the Jordan triple logo man. Just wait for them to do the Jordan. Now, I'm not interested in the LeBron logo man, and I'm not a big basketball, but a Jordan, like I just got goosebumps. A Jordan logo man, that I would be interested in and follow that story, because or a Shaq or an AI or a 90s basketball guy and a triple logo man, or even a quad logo man, that would be kind of cool. I'd be in on that one. Let's see. We're going to do some more comments here. We're going to say good morning to the amazing, the awesome Miss Jenny Miller. And then we got TD. What's up, TD? What is up? We got caught up. Let me make sure we get in all the comments here. There we go. How many rookie cards, baseball? Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Save at home. That's exactly where I would spend it, would be Hall of Famers and rookie. I would probably do rookie cards, and I'm sure Dr. Beckett would be buying Hall of Famers, or he'd be sitting it. Could you imagine with $2.4 million, Dr. Beckett sitting at a dollar box? Woo! He'd be destroying it.
Brad, it exists. It's called the Singles Club.
That's what I'm just about to say. It's the Singles Club next week, and trust me, we are going to go into the National. There's DR. DR comes up with such great questions. What suggestion? Yeah, we're going to get into that, DR. We will get into that. There's a couple of topics we want to talk about first, but we are going to get into that. Ooh, that'd be interesting. That would be very interesting, especially with the hype around the new LA Lakers series that HBO's got going on. That would be really cool. Yeah, peeps.
I think Panini probably. I think that they would want to do this concept again, and I don't know why the card companies haven't sort of figured out a way to do this. Like Panini kind of did it with their like blockchain one-of-ones that they came out with like last year or 2 years ago, where they sold the cards directly and they were one-of-one logo man autographs, I believe. But like I'm surprised that more card companies haven't looked into a strategy where they can get some of the back end of these cards. Like, and especially in like the modern day where there's a billion different ways to, whether it's blockchain or it's some sort of vault or it's some sort of something. I'm just surprised that the card companies haven't tried to create a card like this, but then also figure out a way that they're maybe getting something on the back end somehow. Like, I don't know. And maybe they could be planning this. Like this card, they didn't just throw this card together either. Like this is a card that's been in the making for years. So it's like, they probably had to plan this out and get this card into the product maybe like a year ago. So like maybe in the future, they're looking into something like that. It's just, like I said, I'm surprised there hasn't been some sort of product other than the Panini blockchain cards that has found a way to, for one of these sales for some of the money to go back to the company, I guess.
You can be
kind of
sure
what Fanatics is working on.
Fanatics, you betcha. They're paying acute interest in this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what would you use on a jersey, Herman? What would you use on a jersey from a baseball jersey that's similar to the logo man? What would you use? I don't know.
Well, I mean, they have their own logo patch on the jerseys. So
Yeah, would you
that
use
could
like
be
that? You cut that and put that on a card or on a booklet?
Yeah.
I mean, how cool would that be with all the history of baseball, Dr. Beckett? If you could go back and get like a Clemente or a May or one of those old jerseys, and I know it's sacrilege for some memorabilia collectors, but to go get those old jerseys and pull those swatches and put them on, man, what do you think about that, Dr. Beckett? What do you think of that idea?
Well, I think it's really interesting that Fanatics has come in, which has made huge business in replica jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Panini has, and everybody, there have been, kind of thoughts that not every jersey is game used, let's say. But collectors are now realizing that it's not just that there's a swatch card. It's what's the provenance of the swatch, what's the uniqueness of it, and a logo man is a very unique part of it, and it's and there's some scarcity in that, and so I think Fanatics is going to pay attention, and they're going to do interesting materials. It's like the NASCAR guys. I mean, they got lug nuts and other kinds of things, fire suits. And so anything that is interesting like that, the card company is going to move toward, and combining in a historical, like the triple, that has historical significance. Collectors are serious sports fans, and so they're going to appreciate that nuance. But it can't be. If they overdo it, it'll kill the golden goose. But they're going to get as much out of the goose as they can.
Well, that's true. That's true. And I do want to say good morning to Michael, and I want to say good morning to Ben the Bagel. And I'm trying to make sure. Good morning. If I didn't say it, good morning, peeps. Good morning, peeps. Yes, and that would be a great point for that logo, man. It'd be a great point for that logo, man. I kind of want to switch here, and we're not going to go deep into this because it's not a huge topic, but it has come up in conversations that I've had on Facebook and Twitter. This, instead of doing national, we're going to do international. And with national and international, you go in, you're going to get this 4-card pack here. And then if you buy a certain amount, $10, you're going to get the Shohei Ohtani. And then if you come in on the 13th, you're going to get the Wanderer. But overseas, they're going to do soccer cards. They're going to do Pokemon cards. They're going to do garbage pail cards. They're going to do all sorts of other different things to kind of make this thing international. I'm very interested, Dr. Baker. What are your thoughts on them expanding this into an international trading card day?
The two key words, number one, international. I'm happy that they're going to move toward more rather than national, and trading. It opens up this sport and non-sport. So it's just obvious that Fanatics, and you could say it's Topps, but it's really Fanatics saying this is the way we see the market. We see it more than just sports, and we see it more than just North America. And so that's great. That's good for us now. And they're a company that can probably pull this off. And so if they can promote those brands around the world, it's a benefit to the hobby as we know it. It's the only way the hobby is going to double, triple, quadruple, 10x.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go diagonal here. So Herman, you don't collect anything other than baseball, but I know somebody in your household that does collect garbage pail kids. Any interest in maybe getting some of those international cards for that particular person?
Oh yeah, she would love it.
Yeah, I
once they make their way back over here and hit eBay, I'm sure they'll be in this house. So.
And I got it. So,
I do collect something other than baseball. I do one particular non-sports set. So,
that's true. That's true. Adam, I'll let you comment on this one. Any thoughts on picking up the international cards?
I think mine are same as the Dr. Beckett. I think it's phenomenal that they're including other sports, that they're trying to include other parts of the world in this type of promotion that they're doing. Like, I think, soccer, especially, like, the one thing that whenever I talk to soccer collectors or people who are into soccer, who, are maybe trying to get into cards, that most of the time they're thinking that stickers are the cards, which they are in theory. But the cards are also sort of the main stage here in the United States. And I think I think Fanatics with an international strategy probably needs to figure out a way to either tie those two things together or try and bring cards more into the forefront than stickers. I think, and that's probably the case. Like, if you look at like Topps UK, like they have their Twitter account and their Instagram page, they have like a ton of followers and they have a ton of engagement on their stuff and posting about tons of soccer products that are coming out. And just from a quick soccer point, I think one of the great things that Topps has done with soccer is started to include products of smaller leagues.
Mhm.
So, and that includes like the Champions League. Obviously, that's not smaller, but Europa League is the kind of like the B. It's like the Champions League, but the teams that didn't make the Champions League. So it's going to be a lot of those smaller teams, and I think including those teams in products. And I think they did one. They obviously have the Bundesliga, and I think they did one with the Austrian Bundesliga as well. So, like, including these new leagues and from new countries, I think is a phenomenal strategy for Topps to try and get into these markets and show people that, like, either cards are just as good as stickers, or just the fact that, maybe they don't even realize that these cards are being made. Cause like most of these small leagues, like these players they never had any cards. So it's with soccer in general, like it's sort of how, and I'm like, I'll quickly get through. They start out in these smaller leagues and then they move to the bigger leagues and then the bigger leagues from that. So like the smaller leagues, these players didn't really have cards up until a couple of years ago. So like I said, I just think it's phenomenal that Topps is kind of figuring out a way to get into that international market and figure out a way to include soccer in that, because it's just a fact that soccer is just the biggest sport in the world outside the United States. It's growing in the United States, but outside the United States, that's the only sport that people really care about. So Topps figuring out an international strategy with these cards is phenomenal.
Adam, good point. I mean, basically, I think I misspoke. I mean, the third operative word in International Trading Card Day is they're not necessarily throwing stickers under the bus.
Mm-hmm.
But stickers mainly is Panini.
Yeah.
Panini, not Panini America, but Panini Italy.
Right.
And so they have a huge business in that. Okay. So Topps, without throwing, they're not saying stickers are no good. They're just saying, come on up to the big leagues, come up to the really collectible stuff. And that's trading cards. And it's a hobby for everybody. And if you're doing stickers, you can keep doing that. But the real value is in cards. So that's another subtle message. And it's what the hobby thinks. It's what the hobby thinks. I mean, a sticker is not as good as a card.
Ooh.
In the current hobby.
Yeah, the soccer people are not going to like to hear that, but
No, but it's
but I mean, I tend to agree. I think like when I was getting back into soccer, and like I said, I was talking to soccer people. The one thing that I noticed was like I always thought like Prism for soccer was like the big set, and it did grow in popularity, but that's just because it was people in the United States that were buying the Prism, not people outside the United States, because for us, the sticker doesn't really mean anything the same way that like a Prism card outside the United States sort of has the same connotation. Like they don't necessarily care that it's Prism the same way that we sort of don't really care that it's a sticker, I guess, if that makes sense.
So let me jump in. I go ahead, Dr. Beckett. I didn't mean to jump on.
Just saying that this International Trading Card Day is not about promoting stickers.
I will agree. But I do know that there are some collectors and there are some hobby hotline particular guests, not me, or hosts, not me, that they specifically buy Panini NFL international stickers and have them over here. And there's NASCAR stickers as well that they're offered over in Europe that aren't offered here in the United States, that they are huge collectors of. So I think at some point in time, we're going to see stickers make that move, that retro move back into the U.S. market, whether it's Fanatics or whoever does it at some point, because the one thing that I have learned is that the hobby is cyclical. I mean, what is old is new, and what's new is old. Eventually, stickers are going to come back. Are going to come back, and you see that with the Michael Jordan stickers of the 80s now becoming more predominant and getting a larger value, or however you want to call it, more popularity within. So I agree with the international card, but I think the stickers are going to be a little bit more predominant coming up. I mean, my opinion, $2 and that will get you Coke. So,
well, with the distribution of the cards during the international card day, why would Fanatics limit just baseball in the United States and not offer the soccer or the other? Because I know Pokemon is huge overseas, but it's big here too.
I think it was just pre-planned. I think it was just pre-planned, and this was a step in toe before Fanatics got into it. I don't think, and I've said this a couple of times. This would be actually a good question for the panel. I think we're not going to see Fanatics footprint on two tops until 2023 Series 1 flagship. I don't think we're going to see any type of true footprint, because everything has to go to print so early. I think everything's already been pre-planned. I think it's going to be flagship until we really see their footprint. What do you think, Dr. Beckett?
Guys, I mean, the for stickers, what's the chase card? You know, and you know, historically, it's a very democratic kind of thing. And how many of you have any game used sticker cards? I mean, it's very limiting. It's very retro, and that you get your stickers, but and there's nothing wrong with that. But to think it's going to come up to what cards are, it doesn't have the, you know, it's just, cards have 100 years of history too. In fact, cards have more history than stickers do. So I think stickers are a second-class collectible. I'm saying that publicly now, compared to cards. In their collectability and in their value. And until somebody shows me a game used triple logo man sticker, you know, I'm going to say that the cards are more interesting.
Don't give them any ideas, Mr. Dr. Beckett.
Mark, you can't. There's a free idea right there.
Yeah, this is
that's called a puffy sticker.
Well, I gotta adjust, and I'm gonna go backwards in the comments here. So, good morning, Frank. But there is something and good morning, Skidmark. Good morning, Skidmark. I'm gonna go back, and somebody said something here in the comments about me being Have with you being on, and the reason why I'm being Have is because Dr. Beckett's on. And no, the only reason why I'm being Have is because the antagonist just showed up, which is Logan Ward. And he usually gets me going. So that's why I haven't started aggravating anybody yet. Plus, I don't want that disappointing Dr. Beckett look that I get usually in the middle of a show. So
in the middle of a card show, or
in the middle of a card show too, when I try to start taking cards.
Okay.
Well, let's move on from stickers. Let's move on to stickers. This is a comment or something that I really, really wanted to talk about. National versus Dallas card show size. And there's an article that came out, and I'm going to post it while we're talking, where they said, it's a quote, where the National is just under 600 dealer booths is what they've got. And anyone who, I don't know, those that are in Dallas know that Kyle's show has gotten to be at some point over 700 cards or 700 booths. So the National, this is my first National since 1990. The National card show versus the Dallas card show size. Everybody keeps telling me whenever I walk into the show floor that I'm going to be overwhelmed. But I've gone to the Dallas Card Show now consistently and gotten used to that size. Adam and Dr. Beckett, I mean, what is it really going to be that overwhelming as opposed to the Dallas Card Show? And maybe this is more for me than anybody else, but as someone first time going, I'm not. I've been to SEMA, I've been to CES, I've been to Las Vegas trade shows many times. So I don't want to get this big hype and then we show up and go, really? So I mean, anyone care to comment about the size of the national versus, because people have said, and even you, Dr. Beckett, at some point that at some point Dallas might take over, or Dallas might be a second or something like that of the size. And I'm gonna shut up and go on mute.
Well, I think if it's like, just from a card show perspective, like if you are new into cards and it's one of your first shows, then maybe that's where you might get a little overwhelmed. Like I think the National last year, there was so many people that I was meeting for the first time, and I don't even think I met all the people that I wanted to meet. So it's like the National, for some people, it's more of like a networking thing where you're going and you're trying to meet everybody that you can, that you've spoken to. For some people, they're going there and they're trying to buy and sell. I just think you have to have both mindsets and realize that there's going to be people there with both mindsets. So like if you go there and you're trying to make a deal and the person maybe doesn't seem like they're trying to make a deal, they may not be there to make deals. Like that just might be, they might be there to meet other people and network and stuff like that. So, I think when it comes to sizing too, I think card shows like the Dallas Card Show, the Atlanta Card Show, the National, I think that eventually they are all going to want to work together, I think, to either promote or kind of be maybe under some sort of branding where they are kind of all similar. And I mean, at the same time, I can see why everybody likes them separately. But I think like as sort of the industry becomes a little bit more commercialized, that we could potentially see like the Dallas Card Show, the Atlanta Card Show, and the National all be under some sort of branding that is very similar, if not the same company. And I think you also just have to think of it that way with the sizing and with what people are doing and what they're trying to do at the shows themselves.
Herman, you want to chime in?
I mean, Bo basically said the same comment that I had said to Brad when he brought it up before the show went on. I mean, Dallas may have more tables, but they just don't have the brand recognition or representation as the National would. And a lot of the people that go for the sponsors. I mean, you got, which I know Dallas has like the subgraders and submitters and stuff like that. But you go to the National, you actually have BGS there. You actually have PSA there, as long as the others. And I mean, that's what a lot of people I feel like would go for.
Well, Beckett's there at the Dallas Card Show.
Well, but not with the full presence. But let me chime in, I guess. Just
Go ahead.
My thing, Brad. I think the National will be a little bit more like SEMA and CES for you. I think what happens at those really big shows that are at another level beyond what Dallas is you don't just look out, you look up. You look up, and so it's almost like you just can see the panorama of not just line of sight, but you're seeing that way beyond you. And so the National is a way bigger footprint. And you'll notice that when you walk in, that you can't even see the other end of the room. That's not the case. Now, admittedly, Dallas has more than one room, but in the big room, you can take it all in at one glance.
That's true.
But you can't do that at the National. There's a lot more verticality.
Okay.
The other thing is, I think they're counting differently. There's tables and there's booths. They're not necessarily the same thing. Okay. Even if there are 600, if Kyle has 700 tables and suppose there's 600 tables or there may be 600 table holders at the National, but they're more like booths. So I think you're going to see a much bigger footprint there, and that doesn't even count all the corporates and all the autograph area, the breaking pavilion. Each one of those is like not necessarily equal to there's a lot of stuff there too. And then lastly, Adam, be careful what you wish for, because what you could be is that fanatics could say, you know what, we'd like to have more uniformity in the shows. We're going to be a major sponsor of any show that wants to do it our way, where we have some preeminent presence, and that something like that. And so Atlanta, you guys need to work with Dallas, who need to work with the people in Chicago, whatever. And if you don't, we're going to do it. And that's scary, because the promoters are fiercely independent. Kyle has been successful, I think, in large part because he's done it his way.
Yep.
The National is run kind of by a committee, and so there's too many people to please in many cases, but Kyle does it his way, and he's done a nice job. But the guys in Chicago, the Steve Menzies, in Toronto, those are they do it the way they want to do it, and they do it well. So a little more uniformity, unfortunately, Adam, that could be brought on by fanatics, and they're big enough to enforce and say what's good for our industry is that we have a higher caliber of shows, and we're going to put marketing dollars toward it. Do you want to cooperate with us, or do you want to compete with us? So again, scary thought.
Yeah, I can just see somebody trying to tell Kyle what to do. Kyle's very independent. Kyle is very strong-minded, and if he thinks something's going to work, he's going to do it. If he doesn't think it's going to work, he's not going to do it. He has had more successes than failures. He's been very calculated and a very. I'm going to choose my word carefully. Calculated, very underestimated, and he's a big underdog in the hobby. I don't think people understand how smart Kyle really is. Because of all the successes he's had. Now, he's not been extreme. Everything he touches doesn't turn to gold. He will admit that he's had some failures, but his successes lately have been much greater than his failures, and I think people underestimate him on that. And if they continue to do that, be careful, because I've been as much of an anti as much as I have been a pro. I love Kyle to death. He's made some missteps, but in this instance, I think people need to kind of be careful about trying to push him around, because I don't think that's going to go over well. And I digress. So, anybody else got any more comments? Because I'm going to move on.
Well, everybody, you hear a lot of people saying make the Dallas show one of the nationals, or not necessarily the national, but maybe a second national. And it's from what you're saying with him being as independent and running it his own way. I mean, who's to say that he'd even want to come in there, because then he's going to have other people coming in and trying to change what he does. And if he's as independent as you say he is, he's not going to go for that no way. And why should he? Because he's already got a successful show going. He obviously doesn't need any outside help. So,
well, I was at a smaller show. I actually was at a smaller show. I actually sold at a smaller show a couple weekends ago, and it was fantastic. I have been saying that the market really needs smaller shows, more intimate setting. And during that show, all I consistently heard was, "Wow, we love this. Wow, this is awesome. Wow, we really, really wanted this." And the show was busy, and everyone was buying from before I set up, which was a half hour early, all the way to the last 30 minutes that the show was going on. And at some points in the show, the room was full. And we're talking like a 4-vendor, 10-table show. It was very, very small. And we just kept getting compliment after compliment after compliment after compliment. So there is room in the marketplace for large and smaller shows. I just think that if once again, if you start going around and pushing and trying to push people around on shows, there's going to be some pushback. So I digress. They did say, though, with national ticket sales, I got 3 stats here. They said mid-June was double ahead of Chicago, which was last year. More general admin tickets are being sold than last year. The venue holds about 100,000 K in Atlantic City. Here's the 3 interesting stats. 50.3% are first-time attenders. 37% plan on staying all 5 days. And 47% of people are traveling 200 plus miles to get to the National. That screams volume as opposed to what everybody thought, which was this was going to be an East Coast heavy national and people weren't coming from out of town. That's an extremely interesting statistic that I find. And this is just exit polling that they did last month. But I find it very, very telling that you're getting more first timers than last year and more people coming from different areas than last year. What are your thoughts on that, Adam?
I think last year's show, if I had to guess, the way that sort of the hobby has grown over the past few years, people probably had gotten into cards, but they weren't so into it that they wanted to go to a show, or that they weren't so into it that because especially after 2020 was canceled, 2021, they were like, maybe they were into it, but they weren't fully into it, or they didn't want to go to the show because they wanted to see how it was going to go. Because, also to be honest, like COVID was still pretty prominent, like back when that show was going on. Like, I think now it's still an issue, I think, but people are probably more willing to travel farther distances to get to a show. So I think that kind of goes to what the data was saying, where people are willing to travel a little bit farther to get here. I also think Atlantic City, overall, there's like maybe a little bit more of a draw than there is Chicago. Like, because it's also technically not in Chicago. Like, you're not in the city like maybe you are with Atlantic City. So I think it's kind of a combination of all that stuff of why people wanted to see how last year was going to go. And now they're going this year because they saw that last year, how well last year went. Maybe that's kind of overall, that's sort of what my thoughts are from kind of those statistics that you gave us.
And Atlantic City is more of a vacation destination for a lot of people. So, I mean, like, look at John Newman. I mean, his wife's going with him, and they're just making a family trip out of it. How many people are doing that? They may live 200 miles away, but that's like, like for me, it's like going to the beach. You go to Atlantic City, spend the week, you got a card show, you got family stuff you can do, you got other stuff you can do, so
Yeah,
it's kind of what Adam said. I mean, Atlantic City has more of a draw for outsiders to come in than the Chicago show.
what do you think, Dr. Beckett?
Well, I mean, it's not popular to say this, but there are people that don't want the Atlantic City show to be as successful.
Mm-hmm.
And they are called Midwesterners and West Coasters. Because if the Atlantic City is successful, show is successful, and I think it will be, then that shows that needs to be an important part of the rotation. And like I say, the West Coasters and the Midwesterners would love to just see it in Chicago or someplace that's more accessible. Atlantic City is not just on the East Coast. It's hard to get to.
Yes,
There's nothing
very.
else to do there except prominently gambling. And so I think there's some people that don't want it to be as successful because they don't want to go back there. And frankly, the previous Atlantic City shows were not great. The average Chicago show was way better than the average Atlantic City show. But it needs to be national. I've said that. I think it needs to move around. We need to get it on the West Coast too.
I 100% agree that it needs to. And John Keating, who's not in the comments, he's our resident traveler. You can bring it to the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Center. I don't care what they say, because
they had 55,000 people there last weekend for the Collector Expo or whatever it was, which was the Comic-Con kind of clone.
I was there. I was actually doing a podcast there.
Okay.
I was there. I mean, I don't care. You can do it there. You can do it in Anaheim again. They do the large Comic-Con in Anaheim. They do the Star Wars, Disney Star Wars celebration. You could do it in Anaheim. You can do it in Dallas. You can do it in Vegas. You could do it in Arizona if you wanted to. There's large enough venues in Arizona. I believe it needs to travel, or I think I'm going to say this, and you can slap me later or Rob from Burbank and Kyle need to get together and they need to do a show out in California.
Well, Brad, to John Keating's point, which he and I have talked about this. Everybody, he knows the concert venues and the venues that are out there. But just using this Dallas experience from last weekend as an example,
mm-hmm.
Admission was way higher than it is at a card show. Table and booth prices are much higher. Autograph prices are much higher. Everything is 2 or 3 times as expensive. And when you do that, that's why the national committee is saying, our dealers are not going to go for that. They're not going to pay table fees that are twice as big. And so there's this thought that what the traffic will bear. And yet, as you saw, there were 55,000 people showed up down there paying big bucks.
Yep.
And there were dealers that did really fine.
Mm-hmm.
Cosplay
was huge.
Celebrities who were signing their own autographs for big bucks. So it proves that it can work, but the national is run kind of by the dealers who want to pay a certain amount and want to, and so that prohibits the rental of those much more expensive facilities. And knows that it and we'll never go back. You can't double the table fees one year and then go back the next year. So they're in a comfort zone of what works, and they're going to stay there probably until there's some competition.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point of why would I as a dealer pay double for Dallas or for Las Vegas or for that venue when I could just wait the next year and go back to Atlantic City or back to Chicago or back to Cleveland. That's an interesting point that I never thought of. As you move, you get more expensive. Now I'm going to bring this up because I am a big believer of East Coast bias because I am a Dallas through and through guy, but I think in this case, it might be the cost of booths bouncing from one part of the area of this U.S. to another. I could 100% see that, and I understand Cooter, but there's a lot more involved rather than just the committee having one particular place, having one or being set in their ways. I do believe that costs are pulling in, but the argument of Dallas works and Anaheim worked before, there's cost, this is one that we could go on and on and on and on about. But we only have 9 minutes left, and I promised that we would get into this, and I'm looking for, his question. Here it is. What those of us who won't be making a trip to the National this year, what would you think would be the best way to follow along? I know that as a hobby hotline group on Saturday, we're gonna try to hold the hobby hotline on the National. That's not an exclusive. That's not saying we are. That's not saying we aren't. We're still talking about it. But Adam, what do you think? What's the best way to follow along as for National?
Now, do they live stream the discussions that they do at the table in the Breakers Pavilion?
Yes and no.
Right.
Yes and no. I mean, they do some. Well, go ahead.
They're broadcasting from there.
Okay, so yeah,
I mean that's sitting at a table. It's not roaming around.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think
some are doing that too.
Yeah, I think it's tough because, like, you know, to be honest, I think to get the experience, you really got to go to the show. Unfortunately, like, you can follow like people who like make content. You can follow people like Slabstocks or Sasha T or people who, you know, post YouTube videos that are like vlogs or like Card Collector 2 or. I mean, there's hundreds of people that are going to be posting videos, so like you could spend time watching those videos. But I don't think you're going to be able to get necessarily the same experience, unfortunately. One thing that I have heard is that you can find some deals on eBay because people are selling, but people aren't necessarily looking on eBay to buy. So like some of the deals slip through the cracks because people are buying at the show and they're not even checking eBay. So, you know, if you want to. That's one thing that I personally haven't done that, so I don't necessarily know for a fact that that's true. But from what I've heard people talk about, like you probably can find some deals on eBay just because some of the people aren't like the normal crowd of people who would be buying in heavy volume on eBay are at the National buying and they're not buying on eBay. So, I mean, I would say those are kind of some of the ways, in my opinion, you could do it. But yeah, so I mean, those are probably the main ways, at least I would suggest.
Well, Herman, you're not going to the National. How are you going to keep up? Or are you even interested in keeping up?
I'll keep up, just in kind of some of the same ways that Adam said. I mean, there's people out there that's be live streaming or not necessarily live streaming. Some will go live, like I want to get back to the motel about the day or whatever. You know, you just have to kind of live vicariously through everybody else that is there. So.
That's true.
Just hold on for next year.
Well, no, I to Dan's point, you know, what can he do? Save up your money so you can go the next year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the next year is going to be in Chicago. It's going to be more accessible. And if you can't go this year, it is a poor substitute to just stream. I mean, you're going to get some content there, but it's like Brad is saying, when you walk in, or what I'm saying, you're going to look up and you're going to look out and you can say, wow. Brad, if you don't say wow, I'll be surprised. And you can tell me about that.
Okay.
But having said that, it's hard to capture that in a video stream. And so, you know, anybody that's listening, save up your money so you can go to a National. It's a bucket list experience, and you'll probably want to go every year, as I do.
Chicago.
All the people are in the room. All the cards are in the room. And the opposite of Adam's point is that yes, I think eBay, there'll be less people looking at eBay, but on the other hand, there's going to be deals on the show floor that are cheaper than what eBay ever is, and you can see it and buy it right there because it's Wednesday night or Sunday afternoon. And so there are deals to be had if you're knowledgeable at the National, and it's just a great time. Save up money and go.
Okay. All right. So let's you opened that up. When do I start looking for hotels for next year?
They don't even release them for a while. I mean,
yeah,
special deals, but
yeah, I'm already like I want to make sure that I go to Chicago because
yeah, Brad, you know, here's the thing. This great. It may turn out to be like Animal House, which if you ever read the book, it doesn't end very well. But you know, the whole idea of an Airbnb, which some of the guys are doing,
yep.
that could blow up, and not in a good way. It also could be a highlight of the whole experience. And so I can see more of that happening, of the trade nights and the Airbnb groups getting together and having a very unique vacation / card show experience. So
Yeah.
I applaud that more so than you can get a hotel room anywhere.
Okay. All right. Well, there may be another hobby hotline Airbnb experience next year. I don't know. I just know that
Well, it's cheaper than a hotel in most cases.
it's much cheaper than a hotel. Much cheaper than a hotel. I can guarantee you that, because we're doing the hobby hotline house. So I know that I'm already planning next year. Flights from Dallas to Chicago are much more affordable and easier to get to Chicago than flying into that place called Philly and then going to AC, via train. I can't wait. And hopefully I can go a day earlier and maybe catch a Cubs game or a White Sox game or something like that, and then do some more experiences. That's part of the thing that I'm really, waiting for. We were talking about maybe going and doing a casino one night for a couple of hours, or maybe just kind of the guys just going and doing something different, and the cookouts and the hanging out after, and not doing the big parties, but just hanging out and having just dude time to just hang out. So that's what I'm looking forward to, other than looking up, because at the Fan Expo, that was the one thing that I did notice, was that at a typical card show, everything is flat. Everything is like level, and you can look out over at every typical card show and see the other side of the wall. When I went to the Fan Expo, you couldn't see past the first booth, because they took everything and they went straight up. And it was just, at first it was very, okay, now wait a minute, where's what? And it took me a minute to kind of get oriented to, like, okay, this is over here, this is over there, this is over there. So the looking up aspect, I can completely understand. So, well, we're gonna end it. Any final comments from you, Mr. Herman? Anything you want to say besides "Go Braves"?
No, I'm good. I'm dreading getting off because I got to go back to work after this.
You got to go to work, man. That's not fun. Any from you, Mr. Palmer? Any comments, gripes, complaints, nags, or pet peeves?
No, I mean, my statement whenever I do podcasts, whenever I'm asked what my final thoughts are, is that our industry is always growing, or at least it has been growing over the past few years, and there's going to be new people coming into the industry on a daily basis, and they may not know everything. So if you see somebody that's asking a question on Twitter or Instagram, they just don't know. Just answer the question, be polite, be nice to the people that are coming in, because they're the reason why our industry is going to continue to grow. So that's always my statement at the end of these shows and any shows that I'm on, is just, if people have questions, answer the questions politely, because, everybody at some point was new into this card industry, and it's a lot more confusing than if, you were a kid growing up. So my statement whenever these shows are just be kind, rewind. That's an old movie quote there, but yeah, just understand that people are new in this industry, and just be kind to those people, because they're the reason why some of these shows are growing the way that they are, to be completely honest. So that's always my statement at the end of the shows.
Very true. Dr. Beckett?
Hey, Brad, don't ever ask a person older than you if they have final thoughts. Not nice. But so not a final thought, but I'll just say thank you for handling the switchboard and nimbly moving around and trying to bring in the comments. This is supposed to be and is a show where we care what about the comments and people chiming in. So enjoyed being with you all today, and thanks, Brad, for making that happen.
Sure thing. Look, everybody, be kind to everybody. Be nice. Don't be rude. Thanks for watching. Support your local hobby shops. Support your local card shows. And if you're going to be at the National, come by, shake a paw, yell skid mark, and I expect somebody to at least yell Texas Card Dude. So y'all have a fantastic Saturday and stay classy.